Here. Mr. Mans? Here. And Mr. Stalls is Steve. Third item on the agenda is addition or deletions to the agenda.
Move support of the agenda as submitted.
Got a motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by Mr. Nardoni to approve the agenda as submitted. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 4 is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 15th, 2012.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion by Mr. Nardoni,
Second.
supported by Mr. Cantz. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 5 is our financial report for October 2012. In your packet was included our financial report, which is now taking us through 58% of the year. Our yearly revenue amount budgeted is $765,342. Our year-to-date revenue is $535,019, which takes us to about just under 70% of our budget for the year. Our expenditures are the same, $765,342, with a year-to-date of encumbrances and expenditures of $424,877, which equates to just over 55% of our budget. And our capital reserves equal $556,856. And our past due rent summary as of September 30th is $19,559. With that, I will turn it over to Mike. And is there anything you want to point out or add, Mike?
Yeah, I'd like to add the fuel inventory in there. Our maintenance guy was out, and he got back this week, so we were able to measure it. On Jet A, we have $13,594, and at 100 low lead, we have $44,783. Everything else seems to be tracking pretty well. I did want to make a note on the past due summary. To me, is starting to get unacceptable. I will try to work it down for our next meeting. The first one there, Cully, I've received half of what is owed this week. Savvy Designs, we have on a payment plan now. I'll talk about that in the manager's report. And Gendon and a T-hanger, we've received half of what is owed there. So we're beginning to work it down, but try to get it moving at a little bit of a quicker pace.
Mr. Raven.
Mike, do we have a wait list for T-hangers anymore, or no? Is that long gone?
We do have a wait list for T-hangers. It's more of if a more desirable hanger opens up, because we have about 3 or 4 vacancies right now in the T-hangers. So there's not a wait list to get in per se. It's more of just for a nicer hanger.
And the 2 T-hangers that we have outstanding, Jerry and whatever...
Gendon.
Would they be considered desirable or undesirable?
Cully is a desirable hanger. It's a C-row south facing. And when you look at their folder, there's a long history of past due rent, and it'll kind of fluctuate up to about $2,000, come back down, paid in full. And that's been going on, I'd say, for probably 10 years with that individual.
Well, I would think that would be unacceptable if we have people that want a premium hanger, and wouldn't be opposed that we work to eject them out. I mean, it's 10 years of getting up to $2,000 and then bring it down. If he has a hanger somebody wants, we can get our money on time.
Okay.
I don't know what everyone else thinks, but it's sort of crazy that we're putting up with this.
Especially for that period of time.
Yep, we were going to start legal proceedings this week, and then he came in and dropped off half the payment that was owed. So I guess we can continue with that if that's what you guys would like.
So this $1,649 is half of what he owed earlier this week?
He owed about $2,200 earlier this week, and he came in and had a $1,000 cash payment.
That's unacceptable as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
Other guys want to chime in, but...
it needs to be paid in full, and we can continue the eviction process.
I think you should. I'm sure you've done this, but I would approach him one last time and tell him, what the desire of the commission is that if he doesn't pay up in full and then stay current, that we're going to have to take other action.
Will do.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I was going to make a motion to do that. I know what hanger is in, and I was going to make a motion. I won't do that. But if his name shows up here again, I'm going to make a motion that we immediately continue to try to evict him and, until he's gone. So if you want to pass that along to him.
I will pass that along to the tenant.
Any other comments or questions on the financial report? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to receive and file. A motion by Mr. Cantz. Support. Support by Mr. Mans. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 6 is our manager's report. Item 6A is the Savvy Design Millennium Aviation. Mike?
If you remember from our last meeting, we were in the process of evicting Savvy Design from Hangar 2. She's on the south side. We had to go to court because the judge would not let us sign a consent judgment without the judge being present. She did agree to the consent judgment. Unfortunately, we settled at a $100 a month payment, which is lower than I would like, but it seems like the best option because she was willing to pay it. Millennium did take her space. That was approved in our July meeting. The total amount that she owes is $4,242, so it is going to take quite a bit of time to pay off. But she did make her first payment today.
I guess it's better than
It's better than nothing.
It's 3.5 years, but okay. Any other comments or questions for Mike on item 6A? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 6B, which is Watson Engineering Utilities update.
You guys just asked me to bring this to the next meeting. So far, we have switched over the electric in their name. They were in favor of handling it that way because there is a chance that Homeland Security may move out. So what we're doing is they're paying the utility bill for the whole building, and then we're averaging what the Homeland Security bills have been and crediting them that, or just sending them a bill or a check for it. The electric's been switched over, and we're in the process of switching the gas utilities over now.
I happened to drive by there on Saturday, and it looked like they had quite a few people working on Saturday. Are they on a 6-day work schedule, do you know, Mike?
Depends on the week, but yes, some weeks they are. Depends on weekends, they will go to track testing days and things like that, so they have to get the cars ready. I'd say they have about 7 or 8 employees in there now.
Good. Mr. Rathel.
If Homeland Security moves out, Mike, how much total space would we have there in that? Because we have a chunk now, a little sliver in there, right, that we store.
We store some of our winter equipment. It's kind of sandwiched in between Homeland Security and Watson right now. I'd say it's maybe 4,000 or 5,000 square feet.
That's what we have now?
Yep.
What would be the total square footage if they moved out with our little sliver?
Probably between, if Homeland Security moved out, between 20,000 and 30,000 square feet. About half the building.
Any other questions on the Watson Engineering Utility update? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 7, which is our action items. 7A is revised terms and conditions of the airport improvement grants. And we have a resolution before us that reads, based upon recommendation by the Airfield Commerce Park Manager, the Roseville Airport Commerce Park Commission hereby recommends that the Roseville Township Board execute the revised contract, terms and conditions of accepting airport improvement program grants with the Michigan Department of Transportation.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Rathel.
Support.
Support by Mr. Mans. This issue was brought before us at our last meeting when we had a number of discussion as it relates to what had changed in the agreement from the last time, and we've been given a marked up copy which has a number of the changes on it, and my understanding it's been reviewed by legal counsel. Mr. Rathel's had a chance to look through it and is satisfied that the changes are something that we can live with, and wanted to know if anybody else have any other comments or questions. Hearing none, we've got a motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by Mr. Mans. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 7C is amendment to the MDOT contract for Phase 1 perimeter fencing. And we have a resolution before us that reads, based upon the recommendation by the Airfield Commerce Park Manager, the Groseal Airport Commerce Park Commission hereby recommends that the Groseal Township Board execute the amendment to contract number 2010-04-8, installation of perimeter fencing, Phase 1, with the Michigan Department of Transportation.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve.
Got a motion by Mr. Nardoni, supported by Mr. Cantz. Under discussion, I see that our portion has been increased up to $4,030. Is that, am I reading that correct, Mike?
The total adjustment for this project was $3,252, and our share of that is $82 that we owe.
Correct. Correct. That's the increase. Yep. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the motion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Rathel.
Mike, just explain to me real quick what the scope of the project is.
This is just a project we had done here in 2010. It was to install higher perimeter fencing, specifically on the east side of the airport. And when they were drilling the post to lay the fence, they hit some unexpected bedrock that was harder to break up, and they had to bring in some more machinery, which required more work. Also in the project, which didn't increase the price or anything, have an adjustment, was we just replaced some pads on Taxiway Alpha that needed to be done.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Got a motion by Mr. Nardoni, supported by Mr. Cantz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 7C is the airport events for 2013. And before us is a resolution that reads, based upon the recommendation from the Groseal Airport Commerce Park Manager, the Groseal Airport Commerce Park Commission hereby approves the 2013 event dates. And attached to the resolution is a number of dates, starting with April 13th, which is for the Yankee Air Force Museum Polishing Party. May 31st through June 2nd is the Island Fest and Sixth Gear Experience. June 8th is a kayak event. August 8th through the 11th is Michigan Jets. August 11th is the Sixth Gear Experience. September 13th is the Veterans Gala. September 21st is Andy Bowman's Car Sideshow. And there will be 2 floating Sundays between May and October 6th for Sixth Gear Experience, and those dates will come back to us when those are established.
Yes.
And it's anticipated that there will be a few photo shoots during the summer months here at the airport as well.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Rathel,
Support.
support by Mr. Mans. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I did want to get the opinion of the Commission on one thing. I know we had some issues with Michigan Jets this year not returning any donation for our charity, or their charity for that matter. I think my intent next year would be either to set a specified amount that has to be paid into the charity, or to basically recommend one that, you know, if we don't put a cap on it, if we don't receive $1,500 or $2,000, whatever we think the number should be, then we won't host the event the following year. I think this would kind of put pressure on them to bring more people into the event, which would also benefit us more.
I'm okay with that if you just would bring that number back to us whenever that gets established.
Okay.
I think that'd be good for us to know that. Any other comments or questions on the airport event dates? Hearing none, we got a motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by Mr. Mans. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 8 is our subcommittee reports, and 8A is a report from the marketing subcommittee.
Hi, my name is Mark Lotus. I attended the marketing meeting. During the winter months, it's hard to predict whether to have snow, so doing cross-country skiing and snowboarding is difficult, near impossible. One event we did come up with was a February event that we could hold in Hangar 1. It'd be like an Oktoberfest craft beer festival, maybe food vendors with the long-style picnic tables. Obviously, the fire code concerns would have to be addressed with Duncan Murdoch, but pending that, that was our main one idea of going through. I personally emailed cashmoodetroit.com, which hosts these events. They haven't gotten back to me, so it's about time to make some phone calls.
So the event would be hosted by someone else at our facility, but by someone else?
Correct, and then we would charge them X amount of dollars for renting Hangar 1, basically.
It is the, sort of a little bit of a different subject, but is the marketing subcommittee meeting on a regular basis?
We do not meet on a regular basis.
So it was established to do that, our sort of, for a specific goal and for a specific reason, and that's been accomplished, and the subcommittee will just meet as needed?
Yes.
Mr. Cantz?
I'm not sure if the goals have been met yet. One of the goals was to come up with a new Aeroplex website, and that hasn't been fully accomplished yet. I think the beta version of that is up now, and you can review that, but the website is not open to the public or visible to the public yet. The other reason for the marketing subcommittee was to coordinate events, and in that respect, it's an ongoing function. So when we have events that take place on the same weekend or the same day, the marketing subcommittee is supposed to ensure that there's no conflicts between them and that there is some synergy developed between the events. So I don't know that there's a need for regular meetings, but there will be things on an ongoing basis that will come up that will require the marketing subcommittee to meet.
And Mark, are you the one that's coordinating that?
I could help do that, yeah.
Or Mike, one of you two need to sort of take charge of that and make sure that that subcommittee is meeting whenever it's called for and whenever it's needed.
Okay.
I would say that they haven't lost. I wouldn't say that they lost their mission or their focus, but the website being developed by Millennium on a gratuitous basis to cover a lot more things than just their little business is a larger task, and it is moving along, and I think that you'll see continuous activity with the group.
Any other comments or questions on the marketing subcommittee?
I just wanted to make an additional comment from earlier item that we had a tenant come forward that would possibly be interested in leasing hangar C6 after the Cullies are out of there. So we have his information written down, just a matter of time. We have someone to move in there right away. This is when Cullies move out, he's ready to move in.
Okay.
Which is a reason for, an unacceptable balance that it is on this hangar.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Mans?
With that being said, also on that past due amount, I think you got to put a date on that. That's got to be cleaned up by the end of this month. I would think 2 weeks.
Yeah, we gave him the date, and that's when he came in and paid the half amount, so we just
Right.
go ahead with the proceedings, call him one last time and see where the tenant is at, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is item number 9, discussion items, and 9A is the 2013 duathlon. We have a contract that was included in our information packet that indicates that we had a 3-year contract which has been fulfilled, and we need to make a determination whether we want to stick with 3 disciplines racing as our event. I guess they're the ones that actually put on the event in conjunction with us, or do we want to move on to someone else or talk to other event planners, and I would ask Mr. Cantz to sort of give us a summary of his take on things, since he's been most involved in the event more than any one of us. So, Mr. Cantz.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. Three Disciplines has put on a good event for the last 3 years. Our disappointment with them has been that the attendance or participation in the event has not increased, and therefore our revenue from the event has gone down. This year we only received about, I think, $300 in revenue. The year before was closer to $1,800 in revenue. That isn't totally because of participation being down, it's, sponsors and everything else. I think there may be some opportunities out there to go with some other supplier for the event. There are numerous event organizers out there, race directors out there. I think now's the time to go out and look and see what's available to us. If Three Disciplines still winds up being our best bet, then I think we need to look at renegotiating the contract and making the terms a little more favorable to us with the lower participation that we're currently seeing. As it's written up now, we need about 150 participants, 125 individual participants and 12 relay teams in order to start realizing revenue from the event itself, from the registration fees. And because the participation hasn't gone up the way we had anticipated, we probably need to get back to Three Disciplines and renegotiate that for a lower number of participants before we start sharing in the registration revenues. So there's a number of things we can look at in order to increase our revenue from this event. But overall, it's a good event. They do put on a good event. They put on a safe event. They're well organized. So from that respect, they're a very good company putting on the duathlon. It's just a disappointment at this point from participation levels and revenue levels. And I know that's an issue that's happening not only at this event but other events as well. There are so many events out there now that they're starting to dilute the number of people that actually participate in each one of them. Also, the cost for these events have gone up, not so much due to Three Disciplines, but due to the governing body for multi-sport events, the American Triathlon Association, which has steadily increased the fees that they charge people that participate in their events so that the event can be sanctioned. So another option would be to have a duathlon that is not sanctioned by the USA Triathlon Association. Right now, their daily licenses, what every individual pays who isn't a member of USTA, is $12.50, I believe. And that's something that people are starting to balk at. And it's something that I know Three Disciplines is looking at. They're conducting a survey right now to see how the people that participate in their events would feel about the event not being sanctioned by the USTA. So hopefully within the next week or two, they'll have some data on that. But I think now's the time for Mr. Duper to start to sort this out. For the most part, we need to figure out who's going to put the event on if we're going to have the event by the end of this year, because the calendars for those events is pretty much established by January 1st.
So our timeline is by the end of the year then? Okay. And compared to other duathlon events, you might not know the answer to this, but do other events grow year after year, or do they stay relatively the same or steady?
It depends on the event. It's the venue, it's how it's advertised, it's everything. The one that's closest to us, that's strictly a duathlon, is one that's held at Willow Metro Park. It's held 2 weeks before our event, and that event has been fairly steady for the last 10 years, but it has generally or gradually gone down, maybe as much as, I'd say, 10 to 20% from its peak 10 years ago to where it's at now. But other events take off. I mean, it's what people perceive as a good event and good value for their time and effort and money.
I'm just wondering, or trying to compare it to marathons, because it seems like marathons get bigger and bigger every year, every event that I'm aware of, and I'm trying to compare that to duathlons, and evidently it doesn't seem like the participation grows like a marathon does.
Again, I think marathons are more popular now because they're easier to participate in. But, you know, I know marathons that have sprung up and then disappeared, and so it's hard to say. I mean, some of these multi-sport events are just taking off like gangbusters, and others, like ours, is fairly stagnant for whatever reason, and I guess that's something that we need to sort out. You know, is it because of the company that we're with? Are they not advertising our event enough? I know they have another event that same weekend in another state, so it's sort of competing for their time. And that's why I think we need to look at perhaps other companies to put it on, somebody that might be able to give us more exposure than what we're currently getting with 3 disciplines. But it's been a real good event, and I think the thing that's good about it is there's so many people here on the island that participate in it, both as, you know, running in the event and volunteering to work at the event, and the sponsors. I mean, we get so many sponsors around here, people that have sponsored it for years. So it's something I think we want to continue, but we definitely need to look and see if there isn't a deal for us out there.
So Mike, you got your work cut out for you in the next couple of weeks. So keep us informed of your progress, and hopefully at our next meeting we'll have some direction on that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Rakel.
I don't mind the event. I think that it costs way too much money, and I don't think that it's a type of event that really is going to grow. I'm not sure how much of our personnel and resources that we've used on it, but a couple thoughts would be, if we want to continue to have some kind of athletic event down here, which I'm all in favor of whatever that is, then we should probably just contact people that put those on and give us a proposal, you know, no different than anyone else that comes in and wants to do something here. The one event that I really think would work here and that somebody could do and grow and be successful with, because of our military history here, is these boot camp races are becoming more and more popular. You know, with the obstacles, what do they call those races, Peter?
That was the one comment I was going to make, is like a Tough Mudder or something with interesting obstacles draws out a lot of young people.
It's an Army obstacle course, right, where you climb the wall, you swing over the mud and the rope and walk through tires and run. So, you know, with our military history here, something like that could be done very, very well. Where and how, I have no idea, but you know, there are people that put these things on and come into a military base like Grosseal here would be, I think, a benefit to market the race. So if you're going to contact people, you know, I would maybe reach out to some of those guys and see if anyone's interested. If all that falls through real quick, I'm not opposed to having a 1-year agreement with the duathlon guys, because it'd be easy for them to do it until we can regroup. Just a 1-year agreement, but with a lot more favorable terms. I mean, guaranteed. I mean, it's, you know, we want X amount of money, and whatever that is would be based upon what you think it is. You know, what's necessary for the resources we're utilizing.
Any comment? I mean, I have no objection of looking into other activities, and I think this current agreement, if I read it right, allows us to, because we were committed to the 3 years, we can extend it for just another year, if I read it correctly.
I'd have to look through it. I don't know the details on that.
To John's point, I don't know that I necessarily want to extend it under the current terms. I think there are, because the bottom line is when we got with them, they thought that participation would increase. They thought they could increase, and it hasn't. Therefore, I think we should be able to go back to it and say, hey, look at what you told us you thought was going to happen, didn't happen, so we need to change these terms so that we do, in fact, get a little more revenue out of this thing. So I think that would be appropriate. If they balk at that, maybe we do just renew it for 1 year just to keep something going. But it definitely needs to be looked at. I think there's better terms available out there.
Okay. Mike, that's something that maybe, you and I could take a look at, but the Tough Mudder type thing, the boot camp, let's put some effort into finding people to put those on, because that's something that could really grow here, and be really cool.
We seem to also have space in the Commerce Park that would give room for an obstacle course layout that could come onto the airport as well. I'm sure we can look into it.
Right.
Anything else on the duathlon? Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 10, which is the chairman's report. I have nothing new to report tonight. Next item on the agenda is item number 11, public comment. Nothing? Okay. I'll open it up to any other business.
Well, I'd like to say I'm glad we're on TV here, finally. I would like to thank Mr. Kantz, Peter, for being our liaison these past 4 years. And Peter and I served on this commission when it was first started many years ago. You did a lot of nice things and good things for the airport, Peter, in my opinion. The race is one of them. You did things with our lease agreements that weren't in place before, that have helped the airport become more financially stable. And you worked a lot, tirelessly for a long time. And I just want you to know that it didn't go unnoticed by me how much you worked and tried to help and make a difference. And you do have fingerprints here at the airport that will remain forever. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for your service here. And then also the last 4 years on the township board have been more than challenging. They're not easy for anybody. But as a citizen of Grosse Ile, I appreciate the efforts that you put in there and some of the things that you did as a trustee. And again, your fingerprints are on this island as well from activity that you have done, and you can walk away from the board very proud. And I just wanted to thank you.
I'd like to second that. Obviously, Peter, we appreciate all the hard work you've done on the commission, especially with the duathlon. I know that takes a lot of time and effort, and I do appreciate all your work, but not only that, but everything else as it relates to our first master plan, and then just recently the sort of new or amended master plan. And I know you do spend a lot of time here at the airport during regular hours and help out the staff, and we do really appreciate it, so thank you. Anything else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Raethel, supported by Mr. Nardoni. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries.